our initial messaging strategy, basically it was based on our research findings and the best practices and our strategic messaging goals to raise behavior, improve behavior, raise awareness, improve behavior, and drive traffic to the website. So part of the driving traffic to the website was our way of dealing with the big issue in California, as diverse as we are with 58 counties and I think something like over 600 jurisdictions. There's just so much diversity in what the rules are. So we really worked on that website. If you haven't checked it out, please check it out. It's irecyclesmart.com. We have a page that gives general rules on what's pretty much always recyclable, what's never recyclable, and then what to check for locally. And we have made changes on that based on feedback we've received from jurisdictions. And then secondly, the empty and dry phrasing, which was something that we got into in the last campaign, or the last training as well. We've pivoted to shake it out, but that's the one of the things that the topics we raised awareness on. And then organics, introducing and reinforcing food and yard waste recycling for the entire state.
Great. Just bear with me for 1 second. I'm getting some messages that we're having some technical issues. So I am going to make a couple quick changes on here just to get this set up. So thanks, everybody. I think everyone's experienced hosting a meeting of some kind and having some technical glitches. So really appreciate your patience with us. Okay, I'm going to try sharing my screen, and let me remove a couple settings here. And yes, I am sharing a specific window rather than my entire screen. So let's try this one more time.
For the most part, I think it was working.
Okay, how about now?
Yes. Oh, that looks great. I don't know what you did, but fantastic.
Okay, wonderful. Good. And okay, so next slide.
Okay, so the digital media strategy, as most of you probably know, if you came here today, digital media has really been a place that you can target to your audience, and you can really see what the results are instead of just hoping that people who drove past a billboard actually looked up and noticed it. So the goals are to drive traffic to the iRecycle-Smart and Yo Reciclo Bien websites, and then to drive awareness of the campaign. Key performance indicators were impressions, how many people saw the different posts and ads, clicks to the website, what the click-through rate was for those who saw the ad, and how many clicked to the website. The cost per click, which is kind of an interesting thing to look at. It's not something you're always too concerned about. There are certain mediums like the Spotify, that kind of thing, where you're not as concerned about getting clicks. And then cost per thousand, and then video views and audio listens. And this is just the audience for our digital campaign, visualized. So we were targeting multicultural adults. California is a very diverse landscape, and we were targeting people over 25. I know at least over 18, and then both English speaking and Spanish speaking. So California has a very diverse landscape. There's many different people, and we know that there are many other languages spoken in California. We are able to, at your request, translate different ads into other languages for the display ads, but not for the video ads with the songs. So we wanted to have some ability to give you what you need, but it is a very limited campaign on the funding. So additionally, we were going statewide, urban and suburban. While we did research rurally, there, if you're rural, then you'll know that there's so much difference in the rural communities. Many people self-haul, and many different communities don't even have any hauling. So we've really focused on the urban and suburban areas. And then retargeting, which is really a great thing we can do on digital, capturing those who have already engaged with the ads or posts and also visited the website, and retargeting them to remind them of the campaign, of this resource that's available. Okay, and so our paid media strategy, we developed it with Runyon Saltzman, the ad agency who was the main contractor. And we, again, wanted to reach diverse cultural and Spanish-speaking populations. We used radio for English and Spanish traffic and weather support announcements. So this is, those drive times, a lot of the times when people are really listening. We did English and Spanish 15 and 30-second ads, and we did NPR and basically support announcements where they don't run your produced ad, but they'll actually read a message that kind of blends with their platform. And I think with NPR and then other paid spoke, their speaker actually just reading something. Those are the ones that most people that I know said that they heard the most. So I think they do have a great reach. And then out of home. So this is the bucket that addresses things like your bus sides and your bus toppers. They call them bus kings. And the shopping cart placements, that's where you have a little, they now are using every space for ads. So in many shopping carts, there'll be a little sign. And then digital LEDs. So instead of billboards where they're plastering something up, we had billboards that are changing the screen every few seconds. So that it's actually catches the eye with the movement, and it allows you to be nimble if you need to change messaging. And then additionally, we had streaming video pre-roll, which we really love because I don't know about you, but everyone I know watches a lot of YouTube, and their YouTube is actually considered the biggest search engine at this point. I recently heard. So pre-roll will have an ad before something else like a video or a show, and what we really liked, and we'll get into, is the 5-second ads, so that people won't skip your ad after a few seconds, 3 or 5 seconds, but they'll actually have to watch the whole thing, though you make it very short, so it keeps their attention. So interstitial and programmatic video ads, connected TV and over-the-top television. So I have a harder time defining these, but there's the TV that is connected to, for instance, my platform is Roku, and so I have Hulu and different platforms, Paramount, and we did video ads which run like regular TV ads as you stream your shows of your choice as you want to watch them. And then streaming audio, Spotify and Pandora. We had a couple of audio ads on there, as well as those were the radio productions. And then display. These are throughout the internet. You'll see them on different pages where you're shopping or reading articles, things like that. So we had animated GIFs that display on websites and in mobile apps. And then social media, which is going to be a big part of this presentation. I'm going to try to speed up because we have a lot of slides today. Meta, which is Facebook and Instagram. We had carousel, static, and story ads, TikTok, which is something that we're really exploring more and more. We did have video ads that's just really taking off. Twitter, we'll get into the Twitter specifics as we go on, but again, it's carousel and static, and YouTube, those pre-roll. So why digital? With digital, you can do precise targeting for demographics, ages, language, interests, and specific messaging. It's so exciting. And then additionally, you can do specific geo-targeting and retargeting. So for you'll be able to target your community, exactly who you want in your community, or zip codes. It just kind of depends on what you're looking for, but you'll be able to really have more control over who will see your ads. You have clickable ads that can send users directly to an information page, a landing page, wherever you'd like them to go to get additional information, and hopefully have a resource for them to continually go back to get more information. You can track, you can report, and then based on performance, you can quickly pivot what you're doing, the kinds of ads you're doing, where you're putting them. And you get community engagement. So you get everybody who comments, who likes, or shares that their audience will see your ads as well. So, but why traditional media? So for those of us I started out in advertising in traditional media, and that was, again, it was impressions a lot of the time, but it is something that creates awareness. It is where we first started hearing people say, oh, I saw your turtle on a bus. I saw your turtle on the shopping cart. It can create sort of an excitement. A lot of children will see them. And they're often even more aware of advertising campaigns. So when your budget allows, it can be helpful to do more traditional media. Terrestrial radio, radio in your car, the traditional radio. And in some markets, in some areas, maybe in the Central Valley, you might find more people who listen to that type of radio than Sirius or Pandora or Spotify. NPR and Total Traffic Weather Network live reads, those again can be noticed quite a bit. And then just having those digital LED billboards really can bring awareness across all people. The freeway is a great leveler. Lots of people are on the freeway, and you can at least get some brand recognition. So digital placements are the next topic we're going to talk about. And let's see. So just to get a little bit into this, we have display, which are programmatic, native, and social display. We'll get a little bit into what we did with native. Social display is interesting because it is an ad. We call it Nova, but it looks like a social media post. So you'll see it when you're browsing through the internet. You'll see it maybe on a side, and it'll have that familiar look of a social media post. And then streaming video. Many of you probably have already seen the video ads that we've done. And then streaming audio, Pandora and Spotify. And paid search. This is really, really interesting. We had a lot of impact with paid search. So when people are searching on Google, Google is now a verb that means searching the internet. When you pay for your Google AdWords, then they'll come up higher, and you get a lot of eyes. It can be more expensive, but you really do reach a lot of people if you have the budget for it. So reaches the users when they're seeking the information, so they're more responsive. They're directed to people who have to the campaign website, so they'll have that resource in the future. They can easily just bookmark it. Use recyclable items, search terms to drive traffic. One of the biggest ones is, what can I recycle? Targeted a mix of keywords, phrases, and brand words. We really got to see what was performing and then pivot based on that, and we'll give you all that information. Actively removes lower performing keywords and replaces with those that are becoming more popular. Cost per click ranged from $2 to $5. So it really depends on if you have the budget for this. It's more than Meta, but users are looking for your information, and that's the great benefit. So I'm not going to read them all, but this presentation, the PowerPoint, will also be available for you in an ADA compliant format, and you'll have access to this unless you want to just take a screenshot now, and it will be in the recording. But you can see the top, we're recycling, what to recycle, proper recycling, where can I recycle? So these, I think this is all helpful for us on even our website, how we do search engine optimization. It's great information to have. And then similarly, this is the list in Spanish for the people searching in the Spanish language. So for display ads, we have, these are the types of display ads we had. You see banner style ads on the website. It's an animated GIF that has three, I think, static images. And then it's on websites that are relevant to the interest behaviors of our target audience. And this is how it looks. You see on the right-hand side, it could be either within the content or on the side of the content. So social display looks like a social media post, and that includes social Facebook, Instagram, TikTok type posts, and it's for the top performing creative. It's a great way to highlight it and make it look just friendly and familiar to your audience. And this is the kind of format it would be on a website. And then adding motion to banners, GIFs boosts your click-through rate. So you see here we had this Spanish version. We really liked what RSC did with this, where they were adding the veggies. We did see a lot of actual video performing better than the animated GIFs, but it is something that's just a little more dynamic than your static images. So the highest performing spoke to Californians' identity and belonging. This is something that we knew through community-based social marketing, that there's a lot of pride in Californians, and you get a behavior change when you normalize this is something that someone's community is doing. So it's Sacramentans, if you're here, Southern Californians, whatever the identity group is, but there was a lot of pride, and we heard that in our research too. So we found Nova social display ads were more cost effective. We paused the native ads that were embedded within the content and it didn't mimic a social media post because they were higher cost for us per click. So we do find that having an agency or media buying agency can be really helpful for figuring out how to do this well and continuing to make those pivots as you go. So the top click-through rates were Nova, as I mentioned. We even did some of our regular social media posts in this way. And then the Spanish native was a more general brand. And then for the pre-roll, again, I really liked the idea of doing some 5-second ads that would be right at the beginning of things like YouTube. And then we had some longer 15 to 30 second on Hulu, Apple TV, Fire TV, Roku, some of these other connected TV platforms. And again, to figure all of this out, we recommend using an agency, whether you have the budget for an ad agency or you could do a media buyer agency. We do recommend that you, if you're trying to figure this out, that can be the easiest way to go, but you know your budget, and many of you may already have experience with this. So for YouTube, the top click-through rate was the 5-second animation video one. When you get this PowerPoint, you'll be able to click right to which one it is in the toolbox. So you'll find these, that's the name of it in our tool kit that is on our iRecycleSmart.com page. And then the top Spanish language click through was the 30-second animation video of I Do My Part, I Recycle Smart. And then for pre-roll, the also top click-through is 15-second food fight for organics, and the Spanish 15-second food fight. So that's where we adapted the song to be about a food fight, and food scraps help the climate fight. And we had the family throwing food into the bin, and then the turtle as well, Turner. And the top impressions, the 15-second empty and dry for the win. This was one where we were looking to, we often have seen a higher rate of recycling among women, and this was one to appeal to men and sons and the male father-son bonding. And we have that one in Spanish that also had the top impressions. So streaming audio. So this was pretty interesting. I did streaming audio. We did the radio ad, the song with the Turner, the turtle talking, and we did both Spotify and Pandora. This is something that will help just build awareness. A lot of people are listening to this when they're walking around their house or in different places, even on their phone, out and about. So we don't expect as much of a click-through rate. But Pandora delivered a low impression cost and not as many clicks as Spotify. So we decided to reallocate the budget to Spotify because it just seemed to be impacting more people. The top performing ads for both English and Spanish was the 15-second general brand ad that you'll find in the toolkit. And then with streaming audio, this is, I kind of went through it, but again, using an ad agency or media buying agency can be really helpful. Spotify performed better. And you can expand your messaging because you have non-skippable ads. People who are listening and don't have the ad-free version will have to listen to get to their content. So the top impression ads in Spotify were the 15-second general brand ad and the 15-second empty and dry ad in Spanish. It looks like Spanish and English are opposite, so we apologize. We'll fix that before we post this, the PowerPoint. And in Pandora, the 15-second general brand was again in English, and that was also the empty and dry was the top one in Spanish. And I think from here, I'm going to hand it over to Christina.
Okay, great. Thanks, Maria, for that overview. So I'm going to dive into marketing through our paid social channels. We realize with our audience who's tuning in today, there's a big spectrum of people who are tuning in. Some people are wearing 5 hats at the local education level, and doing education and outreach is just part of what they do. And then other jurisdictions, maybe larger jurisdictions, may have 1 or more people dedicated to education and outreach. So with everything that we shared, our goal here was not necessarily to teach you, a boot camp of everything to do with marketing, but more to give you the lessons that we learned over the course of our campaign. That way, when you dive into the toolkit, you know what our top performing pieces were, so that if you have a budget to do some of these different avenues, you can go and pick the top performers out of that toolkit and start with those. That way, the learning curve for you guys and your budget are going to extend, farther, and your learning curve is going to be shorter. So with that, let me dive into our paid social channels. So of course, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. We did quite a bit of video content. We also did some static, as Maria mentioned. And all right, Meta. So Facebook and Instagram, we did our static images, our carousels, our video posts and stories. By far, our videos got the most engagement. One of the benefits of doing paid social media is that it builds a relationship with your existing platform. Now, that supposes that you have a Facebook or Instagram presence, but it allows people to come back to your profile and dive into all of the education materials you have on there and continue engaging with them. It also allows people to share the content. So if they've learned something in one of these ads and they want to share it with somebody else, it allows you to share that. That's a really different element than if you're, hearing something on the radio, or you're seeing an ad on YouTube or a website. You can't really share those things. This is why social media advertising is really, really great. It's also a really cost-effective medium. So on these two platforms, the English and Spanish Shake It Out videos were the top performers. So really excited about that. We did a little bit of a pivot in our contamination messaging from empty and dry over to Shake It Out. So, so this is really exciting news. If you have a chance to run these are really solid pieces. Okay, Twitter. You guys probably know Twitter has gone through a lot of changes over the last couple of months. So we have spent a lot of time talking with our RSC, who is our primary contractor for this campaign, our agency. But then we've also been doing a lot of social listening and tuning into additional trainings as well, and just putting our ear to the ground about what's going on with Twitter. And we decided to pause our advertising on Twitter. So we did run static and carousel ads and video ads. Videos were, running more effectively there. At this point, we have reallocated that budget away from Twitter. Now, we are still running organic content on Twitter, but there were definitely some questions raised about how funding, how advertising would be handled and what kind of controls we would have. So we just decided to opt to pause until we had some more clarity on how the platform was going to shape up. On Twitter, we had really good luck with our carousel ads. So these are ads that are going to flip through several different images to build a cohesive message. So you see the contamination, empty, dry, and then say bye. Okay, TikTok. TikTok is the frontier that we are starting to explore. It's a unique platform in that it is very educational. We are just starting to explore it ourselves. We plan to launch an organic TikTok channel ourselves. Before we did that, we decided to test some advertising on TikTok. It does tend to skew younger. Now, if you're familiar with our ads, which are on our website, iRecycleSmart.com, you're going to see that they're really high energy. They're very much styled in the style of, Old Navy, Target, these, people that are dancing around the kitchen with upbeat music and a catchy jingle. And that works really, really well on TikTok. So we recommend on TikTok using short videos and short copy. We basically just took our campaign PSA videos and shrunk them down into the TikTok platform. Our top click-through rates was the empty and dry messaging videos that we ran. Okay, sample media plan. Now this is a place that I would encourage you, if you do not have a pen and pencil, this is probably a good place to pull one out. We got a lot of questions about, how much should we be spending? So we're going to share a little bit with you about our pilot plan. Next week's webinar, next Wednesday, we're going to dive into the details of the webinar. The pilot program. But we did have a pilot running in Sacramento and in LA. It was a 5-week, really targeted pilot project. And in that media, we were able to get 6 million impressions. We saw a 50% improvement in contamination in the bin. So it was really effective. And in that, you know what? I apologize. I don't have the right slide in here. We spent about $67,000 in that pilot. So it gives you kind of an idea of 2 cities, 2 large markets over 5 weeks. When I post this, I will make sure to get the correct slide in there so you get those details in. Okay, so the whole goal of our campaign, one of our top goals, was to really not only raise awareness about recycling and iRecycle Smart, but what we really wanted to do was to change behavior. So we felt like the best way to do that was to drive traffic to our website. So turns out 95% of the traffic on our website comes from digital ads. Most people are using a mobile device, no surprises there. And then just a couple things that we measure on our website. We're looking at what types of pages people are clicking through, how long they stay on a page, and how long are they watching the videos that we post. Especially around food scrap recycling, we posted several videos addressing specific concerns that people had. So things like odor, what kind of bin do I need, things like that. We also did some on why contamination is an issue, what happens to things that are contaminated, how it impacts recycling. So we have 10 videos that are targeting those top concerns in addition to our PSA ads. Now, the top webpage on our site is What Can I Recycle? So it talks about what should and shouldn't be in the bin, and it gives you, detailed instructions with images about, yes, it's recyclable, no, it's definitely not, or what you should be checking local for. Since this is the top page and people on average are spending 4 minutes, if you have a local recycling education website, we 100% recommend that you do something similar, that you have a page on your site that talks about what can and can't be recycled, and then has links to where to recycle certain items. So for example, on our site, we send people to, recycle used oil or e-waste or all of those types of materials. We have links to our CRV recycling centers. All of that is available. Okay. So before you develop a budget, one of the things that you really want to do is define, your campaign objective. So are you looking to build awareness around a campaign, or are you looking to drive clicks to your website? Now, for example, an awareness campaign might be something like, hey, recycling organics is coming. And then a click-through campaign might be organics recycling is here. Find out what you can and can't recycle, and you're driving people, to that website. Traditional media is a great way to drive awareness, but it doesn't always do a good job of getting that click-through rate. Radio is great for large areas, but if you're a small jurisdiction, you know that your radio station is covering a whole region, and you're going to have a lot of, kind of leaking of your region out with radio. Out of home can be really great, and you can do some really geo-targeted campaigns with out of home, meaning if you want to do buses in one city, or you want to do grocery cart ads or transit bus station, ads in, one part of a city or a county, you can definitely do that. So it gives you a little bit more precision there. But again, these two are a little bit, more expensive. Okay, we wanted to kind of break it down that if you have a small budget, medium budget, and large budget, what would we recommend that you do? So if you are a jurisdiction that is wearing lots of hats, that does or does not have a dedicated social media person, you want to start playing around a little bit with, paid advertising, the easiest thing for you to do is to sponsor an organic post on your Facebook page. It allows you within the platform to target, the radius of how far that will go. So what that means is you can go to the iRecycle Smart toolkit, you can download our creative art, you can post it as an organic image, and then it will have a button on the image itself that says boost post. You click on that, opens it up, and it gives you the option to start boosting. That is a great entryway into getting your messages out even farther beyond the list that have subscribed to you and are following your page. If you have more money, the next step we'd recommend is doing paid advertising through Facebook and Instagram, through the Meta platform. They have a really strong algorithm. If you are wanting to dive in, that's a really great place to do it. The next step would be Google AdWords. Now, I will tell you that Google AdWords is really, really great for targeting people when they're looking for specific information. We gained a lot of information about the keywords that people are looking for, and it really influenced our website strategy as well. And it influenced our research and the types of messages that we developed for the campaign. You can spend a lot of money really quickly on Google AdWords, and it's definitely a platform that you really want to consider hiring an agency for, or a media buyer for, so that you're getting the most for your budget, and you're not running through your dollars really quickly and not targeting the audience to to get out to everyone. Okay, if you have a little bit more money, the next option is going to be programmatic display, which again, like Maria described, this is putting those digital ads, the videos, the GIFs on other websites. We made some recommendations in there. Obviously, Nova, the types of ads that look like a social media post that are embedded within a website. Let's say you're on CNN, for example, and it could pop up. That's a great way to drive traffic over to your website. YouTube is a great option as well. You can get some really solid views on YouTube. We had great luck with our 5-second ads going into additional videos on YouTube. And then on top of that, if you have a great budget, then we would recommend jumping into connected TV, adding Spotify, adding TikTok. So just wanted to give you kind of a priority list of how to potentially look at these types of mediums. All right, let's get a little bit more detail here. So limited budget. The reason we recommend the Facebook boosted ad posts, it's easy, it's cost effective, and you can definitely do it in a targeted region. If you it allows for that community engagement, but here's the thing you have to be really mindful of. You need somebody to monitor your Facebook page. So if you have a dedicated social media manager who is checking Facebook throughout the day, seeing who's commenting, who's messaging you and responding, boosted posts are really, really great. You can boost a post for $5 or $100. It really just depends on how much you want to set your budget for. And it's pretty easy to turn on and off. And so with our campaign, we had everything billed directly through our agency. But essentially, you can link a credit card up to have that billing. I'm answering some of the questions in the chat as they're coming through. Advertising expertise not required. You can definitely find some online trainings, but we definitely recommend leaning into those trainings or jumping in with a consulting firm to get going. But it's definitely something that you don't have to use that. You can just jump into your page and start tinkering and seeing what kind of increase, does $20, let's say you have a recycling event going on, you have a new recycling center that opened, or you have a particular event that you want to promote, maybe you put $20 or $50, behind it, you can start to see the analytics on the back end of how many people that actually reached, and you can determine, is that worth the budget, and did it actually drive people, to that event. If you have that medium budget, adding the paid ads and the Google search words, the really cool thing about the Google AdWords is that it helps you target people in the moment that they're searching. So when you do traditional like bill stuffer education or postcard education, sometimes people put that up on their refrigerator and they can go back and consult it. Sometimes they remember there's a website. But more often than not, if somebody has a question about something, they're going to Google it. So in the moment that they have the item in their hand, it connects them with the information that they need. And it drives them over to the website where they can get educated on even more. This definitely requires a little bit more in terms of your staffing. So you can schedule the advertising directly. I've definitely done that myself, working within a company, ran Google AdWords. I had training. So, I felt comfortable doing that, but you can definitely maximize your budgets by working with some kind of agency. If you're going to add in those display, YouTube, and connected TV, those are really great for building awareness. Now, I will say my favorite thing about connected TV is that those ads, if you are binge watching a show, and let's be honest, who does not binge watch a show when you're on Hulu, right? If you're binge watching a show, your ad is going to play over and over and over. And if you see it 3 or 4 times throughout an episode of NCIS, and then you watch another episode and another episode. By the time you're done, a few hours later, you may have seen that one ad, maybe 10 or 15 times. When we did our focus groups and we did some of our message testing in those groups, we had people speak up and say, oh my gosh, I was binge watching something the other day. And by the time it ended, I was singing and dancing with my daughter in the living room to the iRecycle Smart jingle. So it's a really great way to kind of build that awareness in your audience. It does have relatively, low costs for awareness, but it obviously doesn't drive as many clicks to the website because they're seeing something up on the screen. It's not necessarily as they're interacting with a screen. If you use our assets that are already developed, the digital advertising agency can maximize the budget and placement of it, so you don't actually have to pay for any of the creative. So that was the whole reason we created a toolkit, was to give you guys the options to just grab those assets and then just hand that over and have them, run them. Obviously, it can get very costly to do your own assets that way. All right, so that is kind of the end of our training here. I know we've covered a lot of material, a lot of information. We do have 2 upcoming trainings. Next week, we're going to talk about our pilot program. It's very exciting. If you're on today, I would highly recommend that you consider coming with your local recycling educator, as well as your waste managers, people who are in charge of maybe waste characterization studies or just managing contamination levels, things like that. The final training is going to be on the 25th of January, and we are going to dive into working with social media influencers. This was something new for us. It was super exciting. It really, really had a very wide reach. And we're going to kind of let you in on the back end of it and share all of our secrets with you, and give you some insights on how to build an effective campaign. These are trusted audience, community members who have an audience that they built a trust and rapport with. So when they share and amplify the messages that we give them, they are very, very effective. And we've had quite a lot of engagement. So people sharing their content, commenting on it, asking questions, really wanting to know more about recycling. It was just one of the most exciting things we did with our campaign. Okay, as I stop sharing my screen, I am going to open up our chat here. If you have questions, please drop those in our chat. We would be happy to answer them. We know we gave you guys a lot of information today, so please feel free to ask us questions.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was going to say, Maria, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I was going to say, with the influencers, I think it's something that maybe many people haven't thought too much about, but the way that people take in information now is so much online, obviously, but on social platforms to a greater and greater degree. And as we see Instagram just really being a dominant force, and now TikTok, we're seeing people who are connecting in, and a large numbers of people who are connecting in with specific personalities. And again, it's that word trust. I mean, let's face it, most people are pretty cynical about advertising. We're trying to do public awareness, trying to make really positive messages about really important topics that most Californians really do believe are important. But it's the trusted messengers who can help people envision how they can actually take these steps, make these behavior changes in their own lives. And then really the community-based social marketing principle of normalizing the behavior, helping people see that others are doing this, that's a really just a natural way to get that behavior normalized. When somebody that they admire, or they at least like to take advice and tips from, talks about these topics and gives even specific pointers, it really can make an impact.
Absolutely. Okay, so will the presentation be available online? Yes, we will get this presentation posted. We'll send you an email with a link to it, as well as a link to the recording for today. I think the beginning was a little glitchy, and I apologize. I think I forgot to turn it on at the very beginning, but you'll get the meat of it. So bear with us there. And yes, any other questions?
And if you weren't on at the beginning, if you haven't seen the previous trainings, you can, those are available. The one that's really the most comprehensive is the one we did on December 7th. You can find that on CalRecycle's YouTube page, and it does the overview of the initial empty and dry campaign, our research, how we pivoted to shake it out, because there was a lot of controversy about, while it was impacting behavior positively, there was controversy about whether or not we were asking people to wash out their recycling, and the drought issue. And then additionally, the organics campaign. So it's a really comprehensive view on exactly what's available, how you can use it, and you can use those assets without getting express permission. It's specifically, we have specific requirements for using Turner and our logo if you're going to use them in your own assets and your own content. Another thing that we've just started to do, and that we did in this campaign specifically on the shopping carts, is using QR codes. So QR codes started, they seemed like a fad, and they trickled out, and then with COVID they came back in a big way when people didn't want to touch menus and things like that. So we had those on our shopping carts, but we're also starting to use those at the end of our video ads that we create, that our public affairs team, internal team creates. So we do recommend those as you create different assets, even digitally.
Absolutely. Okay. Yes, we will be sending the presentation out by email, and we will pull your emails from the Zoom report. But if you are not on our mailing list, feel free to drop your email into the chat here, and we'll be happy to add you to our mailing list. We're definitely getting some questions here around budget. So I'm going to try to answer this question as best I can, but bear with me because it probably will not be as specific as you're hoping for. Small, medium, and large budgets is the question. So small budgets obviously can range, anywhere from $50 to a few thousand. The real question that you want to ask yourself is, what is your campaign goal? So if you're talking about, trying to promote a specific event that you're doing, or maybe you're trying to launch education around organics recycling, you're putting food scrap recycling in, then you're probably going to have a bit more of a targeted, budget. You can spend, on Facebook, Instagram, and Google AdWords, $10,000 to $20,000 a month easily, running a campaign like that. For, a city, like I mentioned, in Sacramento and in LA, the combined budget for a 5-week campaign that was really targeted, on a geolocation basis, we spent about $67,000 for the two, and that was a variety of different items. As you move up into these different platforms, they start to become, more costly. This is honestly where it's going to be very helpful to work with an agency, because we're not marketing, digital marketing consultants. And there's a lot of factors to it, right? It's going to depend on how many residents you're trying to target. It's going to, we obviously ran a campaign for the entire state of California. So we were spending millions, right? And we had the opportunity to try all of these different mediums because we wanted to target as many Californians in as many different ways as possible. You definitely don't have to spend, $20,000 a month by any means. I know there's a lot of jurisdictions out there that don't have that kind of budget. So I think the big picture question is, what are you looking to educate on? If you're dealing with contamination, maybe it's, shake it out messaging, and, you're looking at, a smaller campaign for a concentrated amount of time. Feel free to, reach out to us directly by email with, specific questions on your area. We can definitely, try to answer those. Yes, you can, join together with other jurisdictions to do education outreach. Here's the tricky thing. In California, collection varies quite a bit. we made a really conscious decision to try to target Californians with broad messaging and then drive them on our website to more specific information. So we did a lot of awareness and real basic information, like contamination is bad. Shake out the contamination. We didn't get into a lot of details that could vary, by jurisdiction. So with food scrap recycling, for example, some collect, meat and bones and, food soiled paper, things like that. Some are putting it in the green bin. Some want it in the green bin in a paper bag or a compostable bag. Others have, food scraps separated. Some people it's combined in a two bin. So it varies, right? So if you're going to combine, you just need to have the conversation about, do your goals align? If you're talking about, addressing contamination in a general way and your collection systems are relatively the same, then you can definitely, amplify your messages that way and combine some budgets. And so, it's a great opportunity to do that.
I just also want to say finally that CalRecycle is here for you if there are needs that you have for different types of information, videos, things like that. Our office is here, and we've really been staffing up both in terms of our skill set and our Spanish speakers. So and we also have the ability to translate a number of assets into other languages, any language that you'd like. So we want you to see us as a support and a tool for you to get your communication, education, outreach needs met. This campaign, the portion that will have the support of an ad agency is winding up. But we have actually created some of the videos ourselves in direct response to requests from the jurisdictions. So we have grants available for education and outreach funding, and then we also we ourselves are here to help, and we're constantly responding and brainstorming videos, doing shoots and videotaping and putting together different things. So we would like you to know that these assets, we have actually purchased them in perpetuity. I think we might have on the Spanish language boy's voice. We might need to do something different because I don't know that we have him in perpetuity, but every other talent we have purchased in perpetuity because we wanted you to be able to continue to use all assets into the future.
Absolutely. Just a reminder, if you are on our website, irecyclesmart.com, and you go to the toolkit, there's instructions on there about permissions for using our assets. It's pretty simple. If you want to use the asset as is and throw your logo on top of it, you don't need permission. So go ahead and download those resources and feel free to use them. Tune into our social media as well. Feel free to engage with our social media and share it. We're trying to put out really engaging and compelling video content and really just promote reducing waste, recycling properly, answering questions, really creating a relationship with, the community of California. And then, you can also, if you want to download the materials and use our logo or Turner or the phrase, do your part, I recycle smart, you just need to fill out an application and email it to us and let us know how you'd like to use that. Give us an example of the creative. So if you have an ad that you've developed and you want to put those things on there, just shoot us an email and we can quickly review it and get you some permission to use that as well. All right, I don't see any other questions coming in. I still see quite a few people here in the audience, so I'm just going to give it another moment. Any other questions on different social media platforms, different advertising strategies?
And with social media, we do encourage you to tag us when you have something you think would be interesting. We've recently shared 2 different videos from different jurisdictions where they had batteries explode. And we had a lot of engagement when we shared those. People really, when they see this kind of impact, it's a wake-up call, and people are surprised and they want to share it with everyone that they know. So you often have access to things happening locally, and often video even, that can be so powerful. So we want to share that. We want to share your events coming up. We share those. So please tag us and please follow us, and we will try to engage to the greatest degree possible, so that we can amplify each other's messages.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I don't see any other questions coming in. We'll hang out for another moment or so, and we will go ahead and end our recording now. And we look forward to seeing you guys next week as we dive into our pilot and share with you the information on that. And then we will be diving into the influencers on the following Wednesday. We did have a question come in. How do you promote positive behavior? Maria, do you want to take it? Do you want me to?
Well, it was so interesting because we had positive behavior on there, and I have a psychology background too, and positive behavior isn't necessarily always the behavior is positive. It's just how you reinforce it. But so there's a number of different principles within community-based social marketing, but some of the most important ones are breaking the behavior down, breaking down the barriers to that behavior, and addressing those. You want to make it as easy as possible with those steps, and you want to normalize that behavior. So often our instinct is to say everybody's contaminating their trash and it's a problem. But what we actually find is that when you tell people that everyone or lots of people are doing something, they tend to, even the ones who are doing it the correct way, the positive way, will often change, because they'll say, well, why should I do it when nobody else is doing it? So you don't want to normalize the behavior you don't want them to do. You want to normalize the behavior that you want them to do. And if you do share the behavior you don't want them to do, you want to show people who are doing the positive behavior. And an example of this would be your electric bill, when it says how much an average person is using and then how much you're using. Now, if you're using more than the average person, you might be more likely to change yours based on like, oh, well, if they're using a lot more than me, then I could use more. But if then they'll show like a super saver, and then we just instinctively as humans start to compete with the super saver, and so it makes it more likely that we'll try to save and reach a better super saver level. So anyway, the idea is to normalize and show what you want, and to show people who are doing what you want. And even just saying the phrase Californians do this is something that we saw in research groups where people got really excited and prideful and say, yes, it's true. Californians do recycle. I mean, it's really kind of amazing, but you do see that. I'm sure you have some other insights into that, Christina.
I think you covered it really well. With our pilot, we use that same approach, and we talked about Sacramento ends, and people in LA, do this. This is normal for us. This is part of our identity. I think what you said was really key, that we need to be really specific about what the behavior is and how many steps there are to that behavior. So if you're talking about recycling contamination, for example, it's not just putting, something in the curbside bin, it's backing up to all of the steps that get to the curbside bin. So is the contamination happening because somebody is not shaking out the material in their kitchen? Is it coming because somebody saw that their trash can was full, their landfill bin, and they decided, everybody was perfectly shaking stuff out all week long, so the recycling bin is clean, and then somebody at the end of the week, teenager takes the trash out and says, oh, trash can's full, and they dump it into the recycling bin. Those are two different reasons that you have contamination. So really kind of drilling into, what is going on and why. What we found in our research is that people are really hungry for information, and they really are drawn to demonstrations. So that was why on our site, we developed videos that specifically just show people, this is how you do food scrap recycling, and we demonstrated, and our videos show kids and families together in their in their kitchens, cooking, meal prepping, and the kids are putting the food scrap recycling and just showing how easy it is and how to address those odors. We know that one of the biggest obstacles for food scrap recycling is, oh, it's stinky, it's a hassle, I don't want to do it. So we really showed, put it in the freezer, use baking soda. We're actually going to do a little bit more filming in a couple weeks to show using charcoal odor bags that you can just set next to a bin. One of our influencers did a whole video on how to deal with odors, and that was her strategy. And it got a lot of really great engagement. So just really specifically digging into why aren't people doing the thing that we want them to do, and then giving them a demonstration of how to do it is really helpful. Awesome. Yeah, you're welcome. Well, thank you, everyone. I don't see any other questions coming in. So we're going to go ahead and wrap it up today. Thank you so much. Feel free to email us anytime, irecyclesmart@calrecycle.ca.gov. And we look forward to seeing you next week.
Thanks so much.